Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fish Tank. We're live on Twitch now, but we're also going to be multitasking and making a video for you awesome folks over on YouTube. What are we going to talk about today? Well, we've got the PTR, the public test realm, for the next patch of Minion Masters that's available this weekend. So that means that you can jump into the test, you can try out the 2 new cards, and you can check out all the balance changes. And of course, crucially, once you've done that, you can give your feedback based on what do you think about the new cards, what do you think about the new changes, and anything else sort of balance related. So this is the community's chance to get involved and to help steer the ship a little when it comes to new cards balancing, as well as balancing existing cards. Now, if you want to get involved, we'll put a link in the description. All you need to do is go to the Minion Masters Discord, give yourself the tester role, and once you've done that, it should open up a world of PTR channels on the left-hand side. Follow the announcement. It'll tell you exactly how to get involved, how to download the version of the game, how to get back to the other version of the game, and what the changes are. So let's go through them now. I haven't seen these yet, so this is going to be a hot take for me as well as for you. So I'll put a link in the description to this document, but this is the document that you would find through the Discord. And another point of being part of the Discord is that there's a channel for discussions regarding these sort of things, whether you find bugs or if you just want to discuss the changes with the devs and other players. So the first sheet here tells us how to get involved. So this is going to be version 1.49. This is going to be, I think, early... What are we now? July? I think it's early August that this patch will go. So this just tells you, super easy, how to get involved. Just put a code in to Steam, switch your game to the PTR. Okay. So, we're not going to look at the 2 new cards. We'll leave that for another day. But if you want to check out the new cards, make sure you join the PTR and get involved. So there's Prime Sergeant Radic and Rapid Response Reserve. So this looks like it's going to be an Outlander-themed expansion. So what have we had so far? We're in a Rise. We've had a Cursed, and then Zenchi, and then this is... No, hold on. A Cursed, Zenchi... But what about Voidborn? We've definitely had Voidborn as well. Was a Cursed... I don't know. I've lost track. Let me know where we are. Okay, so... Some buffs here. Milowine buff. Remember, recently she got changed... with her Golem, can no longer hit air and stuff. Right, Arcane Golem health goes up from 250 to 300. So that's going to make it even tankier. Arcane Missiles uses old targeting if nothing is in the area. Okay, so I think previously if you mis-targeted or you missed a stealth unit or something, then nothing would happen. So this is saying in that case, it will target the area. So you can target an area and it will hit things in it. So that's going to be an improvement to that. Whether Milowine needs the buffs or not, I'm not sure. Make sure you hit the subscribe button because I will be dropping my Minion Masters meta video next week, I think. So we should be able to get a good idea of what's meta, what masters, what's cards, etc, etc. So we'll see if Milowine really shows up in those. So it seems like this that Milowine is underperforming, but the Golem does seem really tanky. I think my problem with Milowine at the moment is that the decks are really restricted. You're going to have to almost always play Unholy Ground because you need anti-air, or you need to bring the air down to you. You tend to find Korgoth in there to give you some extra bonus from your spells. And did I say Korgoth? No, Kurnath. Kurnath Crystalback, yeah. So I think that's a bit of an issue. Right, a buff to Shrumama Shumi. That's one of the new cards from the last patch. So the copies are going to have 70% max HP and damage. But the base stats are going up as well. So the base stats is going up from 500 to 600 and the damage up from 60 to 70. So the base stats are going up, and then the amount that the splits carry over are going up as well. So that's kind of a double buff. Definitely needs it from what we've seen. So we'll see if that improves it. I think this is an interesting card, an interesting design. It needs to be real careful with it though, because if you buff it too much, then suddenly it just spirals out of control. So Let's see how that works out. And Shroomer, which was the teen Shroom, the smaller one, they copy the health and the damage so that when it splits, instead of it being 80% of the original one, it's going to be 100% of the original one. And remember, this one splits when it gets to your opponent's side of the field, as opposed to the Shroomamashumi that splits when it receives a positive effect or a buff. Right. Now, just to remind you guys, I'm not sure if I said this before or not, but these are proposed changes. Okay, so these are proposed changes that are going to be fed back from the PTR, and then based on that and the devs' thoughts, these may or may not go through. So we'll see things that go through, we'll see things that don't go through, we'll see things that get changed completely potentially, or we'll see things that get changed a little bit from where they are now to how they end up. And what does and doesn't go through and in what manner it goes through, you can have a control of that based on your feedback. Right, Armoured Escort. Mana 5 down to 2. So remember, at the moment it's 5 mana plus 2 each time the next 2 range units spawn in the form of mana freeze. So it's technically 9 mana, right? Stop reading ahead in the chat. If you're going to read ahead, then I'm going to put it down like this so you can't. So, give 3 friendly minions AoE shield. In AoE shield. Give 3 friendly minions AoE shield. Targets closest to the center. Okay. So it's a spell that you now have to target somewhere. 3 friendly minions. Is it an AoE shield? In AoE shield? I'm not sure. If you have 6+ mana, gain 3 mana freeze, and the next ranged minion you play is escorted by a Crystal Sentry. They both gain shield. This redesign is trying to maintain some of the card's identity, but it has been a problem finding a good spot for a while, and going for a radical redesign seems like the best option now. Also, we like the choice mechanic. So the choice mechanic is similar to, or basically the same as the mana chasers, where if you're under 6 mana, you get 1 of them. If you're above 6 mana, 6 or more mana, you get 3 of them. So give 3 friendly minions an AoE shield. I'm not really sure. 3 friendly minions in that AoE get a shield. I don't know. Seems like a weird way of describing it. Okay, so it gives shields, and then so you could use it to give shields, or to give shields and then get a buff on your next range minion. Okay. Choice is always good. Right, next up, Bladestar. Damage 120 up to 130. Max targets 10. So match targets dealing damage 10 times. So I think what that means is sometimes it can kind of deal AoE damage if it hits a clump of stuff at the same time. So it's going to do more damage, but it's going to do less potential overall damage. This card is straight up absurd in the hands of skilled players and borderline unplayable for most. That's just untenable. So putting a limit on it and raising the floor, okay. Because we've seen Bladestar do insane things, but that is a very low percentage of all Bladestars thrown. So a bit more guaranteed value, but cut off at the top. Right, Bounceberry Flingers. Mana cost down from 4 to 2. Count, so that's how many of the Flingers you get, down from 2 to 1. So instead of paying 4 mana for 2 of them, you pay 2 mana for 1 of them. So the Bounceberry Flingers, I assume they're going to be called Bounceberry Flinger. The Remove Myriad bonus effect is, as I understand it, it still has Myriad, so you still get another copy of it in your deck, but there's no bonus for spawning them together, which, it was a nice bonus, but it kind of made your cycle sort of awkward. So, gain Growth Burst Shroom. So, similar to the Jade Flingers, where they plant a shroom, looks like this is, so you're going to pay 2 mana, get 1 of them, but really get 2 of them, but you have to pay for both of them anyway. But Growth Burst Shroom. This needs to be viewed in the context of the changes to Jade Flingers. We haven't got there yet. I think Jade Flingers are going to be losing the Shroom. We'll see that in a second. So this needs to be viewed in the concept of Jade Flingers. It's a cheap Shroom option, but taking away the Myriad bonus opens up an option to make this viable in its own right with future balance, and the 2 mana range slot has a few options. Okay. Future Past. Oh, Future Past. Changes to a new card with each play. Minimum 1 mana. So it's reduced by 1 mana. Do we have any 0 mana cards? I don't think so. We used to, but not anymore. So that's interesting, right? That means you're not going to get such bad RNG, but not such perfect RNG sometimes. But it also makes it more difficult for your opponent because it's they don't know what's coming next time. So that's kind of the same with how the APEP perks work, where you get a different card each time. 0 mana cards is in Master Perks. Why would Master Perks be drawn as a card? I don't know what minimum 1 mana means. Is that the cost of the card that it grabs, or the cost of the card after it's grabbed it? Unsure. We'll see if we can answer these questions. I thought it would be fun to go through without having seen it before, but then the problem with that is if we come up with any questions, we can't answer them immediately. Right, future present. Mana cost, so it used to be 8, then it went up to 10, proposed down to 9, changes to a new card with each play, minimum 2 mana. This version of random cards added to the deck seems much more healthy. The thinking here is that the card has occasionally decided matches on its own. Yeah. Let me see if we can just answer that question quickly whilst we're here. Right, minimum 2 mana cards before or after the reduction. Right, okay. Jade Flingers. So remember we saw the changes just now to the Growth Burst. No, what the Flingers, whatever they're called. The Bounceberry Flingers. So no longer spawns a Shroom. Damage is up. Fixed death prediction clunkiness. So that's whether things attack something that's about to die. We want to simplify this all the way down to being a baseline unit that involves taking away the Shroom. High health range units is somewhat odd niche, but it should at least be strong enough to go on the basic range card for Zenshi decks, even without the Shroom. Okay, so the Shroom's moved to the Bounceberries. Okay, interesting. Jungle Jumble. So there's quite a few Zenshi changes here. Mana cost down from 4 to 3. Can't gain cards that already exist in your deck. This seems like the more fun version of the card from a deck building perspective, but it's possible that even at 3 mana the balance seems quite right. This isn't really a card that needs to be competitive as long as people want to have fun with it. So this gives you 3 Zenshi cards, and they have Growth Burst Shroom on them, I think. Okay, so it says can't gain cards that already exist in your deck. Can you gain the same card multiple times from the Jungle Jumble? What happens if you have more than one of them? Who knows? Right, Once Bitten. Oh, Once Bitten is going back to Once Bitten, because Once Bitten used to be Once Bitten, and then Once Bitten became Twice Bitten, but now it looks like it could be going back to Once Bitten. It was Once Bitten, then it was Once Bitten twice, and now it's Once Bitten. Right, the count. So remember, this is given lycanthropy to minions. Count down from 2 to 1. Mana cost down from 4 to 3. So instead of paying 4 mana for 2 wolves, you pay 3 mana for 1 wolf. That doesn't seem amazing, but the werewolf has rage. Werewolves, of course, did get a little bit nerfed in the most recent patch with the health going down. But wolves, I think, still are pretty strong. A raged werewolf can put out a lot of damage. Right, taking it back to only biting once. Wolf for rage for 3 mana is obviously worth it. So this is all about if the condition is too restrictive. And one other thing to mention is because it's going to be a 3 mana spell, not a 4 mana spell, no spell reduction in Morelia for that. Valorian. Add Searing Light to the deck every 25 seconds. So, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I think Searing Light was a cycle-based card before, where it was added to your deck. So the heavier your deck, the less value you got from your perk. Whereas now, and this seems to be quite a common thing, we've had Apep and Diona go from cycle-based masters to timer-based. Looks like Valorian's getting the same treatment. So Searing Light added to the deck every 25 seconds. Is that better or worse? In a super cheap deck, it's probably about the same. Maybe a little worse. In an expensive deck, it's probably going to be a lot better. So probably an overall buff to Valorian. Valorians tend to have heavier decks, right? Fixed perk 3 bug that made it heal too little. Didn't even know that existed. Right, nerfs. Apep. Totem cooldown. So that's the perk 2. Shield totem, 30 seconds instead of 25 seconds. So you get less shield availability. Apep's still really strong. Not as I think from my leaderboard analysis so far, it's still strong, but not as strong as it was. But I don't know if this is going to change much. I guess we'll see. Diona, crossbow trap, half face damage. That's quite a substantial nerf to Diona. Trying to make the traps more about helping minion fighting. So trap can do 800 damage. So previously 800, now 400 to face. So, I mean, you can still do decent face damage with it. It's just, normally you don't get all of that out. I think the big change there is that the DPS is going to be reduced by half. So, right, Elite Swarmer, Kurnath, and Morgrul. Elite Swarmer is an incredibly high-performing cheap card. I'm not surprised to see that getting a nerf. Kurnath and Morgrul. Well, so the attack speed going up from 1.1 to 1.2 seconds. Attack cooldown, that is. So that's DPS reduced. I think that's going to hurt the Elite Swarmer a little bit. Kurnath, not so much. Kurnath is more about, so that's Crystalback, more about his spell interactions. Morgrul, again, a little bit of a nerf, but again, Morgrul's more about that big AoE on spawn and when he dies. So, some nerfs to a bunch of cards there, but Elite Swarmer's probably going to feel it the most. Morgrul's Mark. Not surprised to see this coming up for a nerf. Is this going to be enough? I don't know, but again, this seems to be everywhere. So this is one of the newer cards. So the count, that's the number of swarmers that it gives you, is going down from 6 to 5. I don't think that's going to be enough. I think I would like to see more delay between the spawners, the swarmers spawning. When it first came out, it was bugged and the swarmers spawned way too slowly and it was terrible. And then they fixed it and then they spawned at the correct speed and it was very strong. So I think maybe somewhere between those two might be the best. And that's kind of an example of where you can give your feedback to the PTR. Rocket Scrat, damage going down from 90 to 80. I'm not sure if that changes many thresholds. There's probably some things it doesn't kill. How many spear throwers? How much health does a spear thrower have? Feels like it's 90. Yeah, spear throwers have 90. So there are some thresholds there that's going to hurt it. Ruby, health going down from 900 to 850. I mean, Ruby is pretty strong, I think. So I don't really have too many problems with that. And well, see, the thing with Ruby is she's strong when she's used appropriately. I tend to see people not use her appropriately, spawn her on the bridge and she just melts, right? You want to spawn her in the pocket generally. You want to keep her alive because the fact that your opponents know that you've got your plasma cannon makes it very difficult for them to play, and you can trade really efficiently with that. And Stint, That's another super high performing card. Attack speed being increased, so DPS going down. Right. So that is it. Those are the potential changes for the PTR. If you got any questions, of course, let me know. And yeah, so please, if you want to get involved in the PTR, please follow the instructions. We'll put them down in the description. So the more people that get involved in the PTR, the more matches that can take place, the more feedback that can be given, and the better the balance can be on day one. Remember, if you join the PTR, you can see the new cards as well if you want to get your hands on those for the first one. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you've enjoyed the content here, and as always, if you're enjoying it, make sure you hit the subscribe button to never miss out on some Minion Masters news. I'm bad as a fish, and wherever I am, I'm awkwardly waving.